What if I told you the most haunting sound to her isn't your voice? It's your absence, not your explanations, not your pain. Just silence. Pure, calculated silence. The kind of silence that doesn't come from weakness, but from absolute strength. You think she'll come back if you just explain one more time, text her one more time, pour your heart out one more time. Nope, that only feeds her ego. That only confirms what she already suspects, that she can walk away and you'll still be standing there waiting. But what if you didn't? What if you disappeared from her world like she never existed? What if you stopped chasing, stopped reacting, and stopped bleeding energy into a void that never gave anything back? That's when it shifts. That's when the dynamic flips. Because in that silence, she hears everything. Every echo of what she lost. Every beat of the attention she once took for granted. Every reminder that you no longer care. You've stopped begging. You've stopped explaining. And that's when the haunting begins for her, not you. The truth? Pain was never your enemy. It was your rebirth. It cracked you open, burned your illusions to ash, and now you rise colder, smarter, more dangerous. Stoicism is not numbness, it's control. It's the man who feels deeply, but reacts rarely. And that man? He's the one she remembers forever. Not because of what he said, but because of what he withheld. You're not here to play games. You're here to take your power back. Every second you waste chasing closure or understanding, you delay your evolution. So stop. Stop giving her front row seats to your suffering. Go ghost. Go silent. Become the mystery she can't solve, the scar she can't heal from. Because once you stop feeding her attention, she starts starving for it. If you're done being her emotional crutch, if you're ready to become the silence she can't ignore, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. She lost access to a rare soul. Now let's begin. Number 1. Pain is the catalyst. Every man remembers the exact moment it shattered. The shift in her tone, the cold stare, the silence that used to mean comfort, now screaming disinterest. Maybe it was a breakup text that didn't even deserve a reply. Maybe it was the slow fade, calls less frequent, affection drying up like it was never real. Whatever it was, it left you gutted. You didn't just lose a woman, you lost a version of yourself. And in that loss you found pain, real, raw pain, the kind that keeps you up at night, the kind that makes you question everything, her, yourself, your worth. That pain, it's not a punishment, it's the beginning. Most men try to escape that feeling. They run straight into distractions, new women, endless scrolling, numbing habits, anything but facing the void she left behind. But that void, that's where the transformation begins, because pain is pressure, and pressure creates either collapse or diamonds. Stoicism teaches this. Nothing external should control the peace inside you, not her presence, not her absence, not even her betrayal. Pain is information. Pain is a messenger. And if you're brave enough to sit with it instead of drowning it, you'll understand what it's trying to show you. She didn't destroy you. She exposed you. Exposed your illusions, your blind spots, your neediness, the false sense of control you thought you had. You see, heartbreak isn't a glitch in the system, it is the system. It's life-shaking. If you awake, because the man you were when she left, that man couldn't handle what's coming next. So the universe burned him down, so someone stronger could rise in his place. You don't become untouchable by avoiding pain. You become untouchable by facing it, absorbing it, and turning it into your edge. She thought you'd crumble. She thought she broke you. But she only gave you the material you needed to evolve. And you will, not to get her back, not to prove anything, but because the man you're becoming is too powerful to stay broken. Number 2. The power of complete silence. The most powerful thing you can do after she walks away is nothing. No chasing, no explaining, no "I miss you" texts at 2 a.m. Just silence, real silence. The kind that echoes, the kind that forces her to sit with her choices. Most men don't get this. They think if they say the right thing, she'll come back. If they just open up one more time, she'll finally understand. Nope. Every word you send after she's already disconnected makes you look smaller, makes her feel more powerful. She doesn't need another message. She needs distance, cold, deafening distance. You think silence is passive. It's not. It's pressure, emotional pressure that grows with every day you don't reach out, with every hour you don't validate her ego. See, most women expect the fallback. They expect the apology, the breakdown, the paragraphs. When you give her none of that, when you vanish without drama, you flip the script. Suddenly she has to wonder, why hasn't he called? Why is he so calm? Did he stop caring that fast? That mental loop becomes the beginning of regret. But silence isn't just about her. It's about you reclaiming control. Every text you don't send is a rep in the emotional gym. Every urge you ignore builds discipline. Silence is you putting yourself back in the driver's seat. It says, I'm not available to people who treat me like I'm optional. It says, I've stopped explaining my worth. If you couldn't see it, that's your loss. When you stop feeding her attention, you start feeding your own power. And maybe she doesn't come back. Good. That's not the goal. The goal is becoming the man who never had to beg in the first place. The man who's too grounded, too focused, too rare to be chasing ghosts. Because the second you go truly silent, she feels it. And the louder that silence gets, the more it haunts her. Number 3, starve her of your attention. Let's talk about one of the hardest but most powerful moves a man can make: starving a woman of your attention. Now that might sound harsh, cold even, but hear me out. Attention is energy. It's not free, and every time you give it to someone, you're investing a piece of your presence, your time, your mind. If you're constantly giving your energy to a woman who's not matching it, or worse, ignoring you, you're bleeding value. You're telling her, you can have me without effort. And once she knows that, the game is over. You don't need to yell. You don't need to explain. You don't even need to announce your exit. You just stop feeding the fire. That's when the balance starts to shift. Because here's the truth. A woman knows exactly when she's getting your attention. She knows when you're watching her stories, liking her posts, texting her first, responding fast, waiting on her replies. She feels that pull of power. But when that attention disappears without drama, without a meltdown, it echoes. She might not react right away. That silence will confuse her at first. She'll wonder if you're just busy. She'll test the waters. Maybe she throws out a casual text. Maybe she posts something designed to provoke a response. But when you don't bite, that's when your absence starts to haunt her. Not because you're being manipulative, but because, for the first time, she has to sit in the space where your energy used to be. And trust me, if you were giving too much before, that void feels massive. Most men make the mistake of trying to prove their worth. They chase, they explain. They send long emotional messages hoping she'll finally understand. But that just tells her you don't get it. It tells her your value is negotiable. You want to be truly attractive. Don't argue for your worth. Just stop handing it out. And this is where Stoicism becomes your weapon. You train yourself not to react emotionally. You don't flinch when she pulls away. You don't spiral when she doesn't answer. You observe it. You accept it. And you act accordingly. You retract your energy. Not out of spite, but out of self-respect. You don't punish her. You just remove the reward. That's what starving her attention really means. You shift the spotlight back onto yourself. You start showing up for your own goals. You let her wonder, let her question, let her chase something that used to chase her. And here's the kicker: she will. Because women feel attention, they crave validation like currency, and when yours disappears, it forces them to confront their own behavior. It breaks the autopilot. She'll start thinking, wait, did I mess up? Why isn't he watching my story? Why is he so quiet lately? Is he talking to someone else? These thoughts only come when your attention is no longer free. And the more emotionally mature you are, the stronger that silence becomes. There's a difference between silence that screams, I'm hurt, and silence that says, I've evolved. You're not sulking in a corner. You're living. You're focused. You're no longer handing out your presence to someone who doesn't see the value in it. And don't be surprised if she circles back, maybe not in the way you expect, but trust me, they always feel the change. So what do you do when she does? Nothing. You don't throw the spotlight back on her. You don't drop everything. You stay grounded, still, centered. That's when she starts seeing you differently. Because attention from a man who knows his worth, that's rare. It's powerful. It's unforgettable. Let her sit with the silence. Let her feel the space. Let her realize the energy she used to ignore was something special. And if you've been watching this far, this is where you start to shift. This is where you stop chasing and start leading. Your attention is a privilege, not a given. Protect it, preserve it, and only give it where it's earned. If this hits home, drop a quick comment, I've done this, and keep watching, because the next principle will take this even deeper. Number 4, emotional detachment is dominance. Let's get something straight. Emotional detachment is not weakness, it's not coldness, and it's definitely not the absence of feeling. It's power. It's knowing you have feelings but choosing not to be ruled by them. It's standing in the middle of a storm and keeping your feet planted, calm, while everything else tries to pull you under. And when it comes to women especially, the ones who play hot and cold, give mixed signals, or ghost just to watch your reaction, emotional detachment becomes your weapon, your edge. Because here's the thing, the moment she realizes she can get a reaction out of you, she has control. It doesn't even have to be intentional. Sometimes she pulls away just to see if you'll chase. Sometimes she flirts with someone else to test your emotional resilience. And most guys, they take the bait. They get upset, jealous, start texting too much, arguing, explaining, demanding answers. And every time they do that, they hand over their power. Their frame collapses. But you're not here to react. You're here to lead. Emotional detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care about the right things. You care about your standards, your peace, your time, your purpose. You don't allow Anya, no matter how beautiful, no matter how intoxicating, to pull you into chaos. That's dominance. It's not loud. It's not forceful. It's silent, steady, and magnetic. When a woman realizes that she can't shake you emotionally, two things happen. First, she respects you. Second, she becomes curious. Because most guys break at the first sign of drama. They fold, they react, they show their insecurity in broad daylight. But a man who remains grounded, that man becomes unpredictable, unreadable, unshakable, and that drives her wild. Let's go even deeper. Emotional detachment trains you to think with clarity. You're no longer making decisions out of fear of losing her, fear of being alone, fear of rejection. You start acting from logic, from discipline, from self-worth. You begin to see her actions not through the lens of desperation, but through the lens of reality. She flaked? Cool. She's pulling away? Okay. She's testing you? Noted. But you don't flinch. Because your peace isn't tied to her presence. You've already built that foundation inside. And this isn't about pretending to be unaffected. It's about actually doing the work mentally, emotionally, spiritually, so her behavior no longer determines your value. And this is what women don't expect. They're used to men reacting, running back, explaining, seeking closure. But emotional detachment flips the script. You're not cold, you're composed. You're not distant, you're focused. You're not chasing, you're observing. That subtle shift, it says everything. It says, you don't control my mind, you don't control my day, you don't control how I feel about myself. And that kind of power is rare. It's attractive, not in a needy way, not in a performance, but in a way that says, I'm whole with or without you. And make no mistake, this doesn't just affect how she sees you, it changes how everyone sees you. Friends, co-workers, strangers, they sense your calm, your strength, your refusal to get emotionally hijacked by situations you can't control. And women, especially women who are used to getting reactions, will feel it even more. Because when she plays her games and gets nothing in return, when she tries to spark jealousy or guilt and you simply smile and carry on, when she pulls away and you don't follow, that silence becomes deafening. That distance becomes power, and she starts to wonder if she ever had you at all. So here's the takeaway. Don't let your emotions control you. Feel them, understand them, but don't obey them blindly. Practice detachment. Choose the calm over chaos, logic over impulse, presence over panic, and let her experience what it's like to deal with a man who doesn't beg, doesn't break, and doesn't bend to drama. If that hit, drop a comment. I stay centered. And stick around because the next shift is even sharper. Number 5. Rebuild in the shadows. You've been ignored, maybe ghosted, maybe even humiliated, and everything in you wants to prove something. You want her to see how much better you're doing without her. You want to flex, show off, make her regret walking away. It's a natural urge, but it's the wrong move. Because the more you try to be seen, the more power you give away. What you need to do is disappear, not from life but from her view. That's where the real rebuild begins. It's in the shadows. That's where the strongest men grow. Let her think you're quiet. Let her assume you've stalled, while underneath you're rebuilding everything. Mind, body, mission. You're not proving anything to her, you're evolving for you. This isn't about revenge. This isn't about showing her what she lost. That mindset still keeps her at the center of your focus. And as long as she's there, she's still winning. What you're doing now is reclaiming your attention. You're pulling it back from the distractions, from the noise, from the ego traps. You're using your silence as fuel, your solitude as a forge. And here's what happens when you rebuild in the shadows. First, you become dangerous again. Not in a reckless way, but in the way that makes people take notice when you walk in a room. You're no longer emotionally tangled in her web. You're composed, purposeful, unpredictable. That kind of energy, it shakes people, especially those who thought they broke you. Second, you stop chasing external validation. You don't need likes. You don't need her to view your stories. You don't need to accidentally bump into her just to get a reaction. Because now, you're building from the inside out. You hit the gym not to post, but to sharpen. You read not to look smart, but to think deeper. You hustle not to flex, but to build real security. That's silent growth. That's stoic power. And here's where the real twist kicks in. When you stop broadcasting your life, people get curious. When you stop trying to be seen, you become more noticeable. When you stop proving, you start attracting. And that's when she starts to feel it. She may not admit it. She may never say a word. But she will feel the absence. She'll notice your silence. She'll see you stop watching her stories. She'll feel the tension of not knowing what you're up to. That mystery creates gravity. And that's what haunts her, not your words, not your effort, not your sadness. It's the version of you she can no longer access. That's the key. You're no longer emotionally available to someone who devalued your presence. You're no longer performing. You're no longer begging to be seen. You've become a man who rebuilds in silence and lets the results do the talking. Now, I know some guys will say, But shouldn't I post to show I'm doing well? Number. That's still trying to get her attention. That's still giving her power. Let her go looking. Let her dig. Let her wonder. Your job is to become so focused, so grounded, that she becomes a distant memory in the rearview mirror of your progress. And if she comes back, you don't panic. You don't gloat. You don't even adjust your pace. You stay on your path. Because the man you're becoming doesn't pause his mission for validation. He keeps moving, quietly, relentlessly. So, ask yourself, am I building for applause, or am I building for freedom? Because real men don't need the world to clap. They just need to know they're growing every day, every hour, even when no one's watching. Rebuild in the shadows. Let your results haunt her. If you're already doing this, drop it in the comments. I'm in the shadows. And stick with me, because what's coming next only works once this part is locked in. Number 6. Attraction isn't chaste. Let's talk about something that men often misunderstand or ignore because they've been taught to. Attraction isn't pure. It's not clean. It's not polite. It's raw. It's primal. And most importantly, it's not chaste. Too many men believe that if they act nice, respectful, always available, emotionally generous, that she'll reward that behavior with attraction. But that's not how it works. Because attraction doesn't follow moral rules. It's not about being the best guy. It's about being the man who makes her feel something. A man who moves her body before he ever moves her heart. A man who knows she's wired for intensity, not stability. Now don't twist this. This doesn't mean you become a jerk or play some fake alpha male persona. This means you stop neutering your masculine energy. You stop filtering yourself to be more likable. You stop hiding the very tension that actually makes women lean in. Women aren't drawn to men who make them feel safe in the way society defines safe. They're drawn to men who stir them. Men who walk in a room and shift the atmosphere not because they're loud, but because they're solid, composed, unapologetically male. That's what attraction feeds on. It feeds on polarity, on contrast, on masculine presence that's calm, confident, and quietly commanding. If you're constantly trying to earn attraction by being sweet, you're killing the spark before it even lights. And if she ignored you, if she pulled away, it might be because she didn't feel that edge from you. That sexual undercurrent, that quiet confidence that says, I'm not here to be your pet, I'm here to be your man. There's a difference. So how do you fix it? You stop overcorrecting. You stop trying to be liked and start being real. You let your presence speak. You flirt without fear. You hold eye contact longer. You stop laughing at things you don't find funny. You stop hiding your desires. Because here's the truth. Attraction isn't logical. She doesn't sit around writing a checklist about who makes the most sense. She feels it or she doesn't. And that feeling comes from your energy, not your resume. Think about it. Why do some guys with less money, less looks, less status still pull incredible women? It's because they're not trying to be accepted. They're radiating who they are. They know attraction isn't clean. It's messy. It's emotional. It's sexual. And a man who embraces that without shame, without overexposing it, becomes magnetic. So if she's ignoring you, maybe it's because she put you in the nice but safe box, the category that women respect but don't desire. And to climb out of that box, you need to rewire your approach. Stop being the pleaser. Stop tiptoeing. Stop suppressing your edge. Own your masculinity, your humor, your standards, your body, your eyes, your voice. That's the energy that speaks to her instincts. That's the part of you she remembers when you're not around. Because if you're not stirring something deep, if you're only stimulating her logic, then another man will come along and hit her emotion like a lightning strike. And you'll be left wondering what happened. Stoicism teaches restraint, but not weakness. It's not about being passive, it's about being deliberate. You don't pour everything out, you control the flow. You let her feel your presence without chasing her approval. That's how you stop being ignored. That's how you haunt her thoughts. That's how you reignite the spark. You remind her, with everything you do, that attraction isn't chaste. It's bold, it's alive, it's physical before it's emotional. You stop being a concept and start being a man. If this one hit different, leave a comment. I've felt this shift. And keep watching what comes next. Changes the entire energy dynamic. Number 7. Your indifference is her mirror. Let's get real for a second. You don't chase anymore. You don't explain. You don't react. Not because you're angry, not because you're playing games, but because you've learned that indifference is power. When she starts to ignore you, push you away, go cold, you don't beg. You don't try to fix it. You give her what she asked for. Silence, stillness, space. But here's the twist. Your indifference isn't just a response. It's a reflection. She sees herself in it. And that's what haunts her. You're holding up a mirror to her behavior. You're not punishing her. You're not sulking. You're simply stepping back and letting her feel her own energy bounce back at her. Most guys try to fix tension. They send long texts, ask what's wrong, try to win her back. But the men who understand emotional discipline, they flip the game without saying a word. They become the mirror. When she pulls away, you don't chase, you shift your focus. When she stops texting, you stop checking your phone. When she turns cold, you stay warm toward yourself and cold toward drama. That's Stoicism in action. She expected you to fold, to question, to seek closure, but instead you became neutral. And that neutrality is disarming. It makes her wonder, was I not that important to him after all? Why isn't he trying harder? Is he already over me? And the moment she asks those questions 7, if she never says them out loudest, the moment the power balance starts to change. Because deep down, every woman who tries to pull emotional power moves is banking on one thing, that you care more than she does. But your indifference shows her that you've recalibrated, you've recentered, you're no longer playing her emotional game, you've removed yourself from the board entirely. And it's not a performance. It's not fake nonchalance. It's genuine clarity. You don't need her validation. You're not trying to manipulate her emotions. You're just done investing in chaos. And that decision, that stillness, that detachment, it forces her to sit with her own choices. Suddenly, she's no longer the one reacting to your energy, she's reacting to her own reflection. And that's where the shift happens. Because indifference, when rooted in peace, is louder than any argument. It's more attractive than desperation. It's more haunting than heartbreak. It doesn't say, I'm angry. It says, I've let go. And women feel that. They feel when your energy has closed the door, not with slamming or shouting, but with quiet certainty. Now here's where it gets deeper. Your indifference must come from truth, not ego, not revenge, not trying to win. It comes from knowing what you're worth and refusing to entertain anything less. And when that clarity reflects back at her, she starts seeing herself more clearly too. She remembers how you used to show up. She feels the absence of your attention. She replays the moments you gave her everything and now give her nothing. That's the real consequence. Not punishment, but perspective. And it's brutal in its simplicity. So the next time she pulls away or starts acting hot and cold, don't match her emotion. Don't compete for attention. Don't beg for answers. Just reflect. Let your calm be the mirror. Let your discipline expose her inconsistency. Let your lack of reaction highlight her own. And above all, stay silent when silence is needed. Let her sit in that silence long enough to hear her own thoughts. Because if she truly cared, your absence will echo louder than your presence ever did. And if she didn't, you walk anyway clean, clear, and centered. If you've already been living like this, comment below. I reflect, not react. And trust me, what's coming next might just shift the entire frame of power. Stay locked in. Number 8. Her games only work if you play. Let's stop pretending this is complicated. Most of the time when a woman starts acting distant, flaky, hot and cold, it's not random. It's a game. Maybe it's subconscious, maybe it's strategic, but it's still a game. She wants to see how much control she has, how much power she holds, how far she can stretch the rubber band before you snap. And you've got one simple rule. Don't play. The moment you start reacting to every mood swing, every silence, every passive-aggressive move, she's not wondering about you anymore. She's directing you. Her games only work if you play. So, what does not playing look like? It's not being rude. It's not being cold or toxic or trying to beat her at her own game. It's simply refusing to be pulled off your center. When she takes an hour to reply, you don't double text. When she tries to make you jealous, you don't even blink. When she suddenly gives you the silent treatment, you let the silence breathe. You're not being manipulated, you're being observed. And what she's watching for is one thing: emotional control. Will you chase? Will you panic? Will you spiral into insecurity? If you do, you lose not just in her eyes, but in your own. Because now you've handed over the steering wheel. Now you're reacting instead of leading. Now your attention is a prize she dangles at her convenience. But the man who doesn't play, he's a different animal entirely. He sees the game for what it is. He doesn't take the bait. He doesn't perform. And ironically, that's the man who ends up winning. Why? Because women don't test what they don't value. If she's testing you, it's not always a bad sign, but it is a sign that she's watching. She's evaluating whether you're emotionally solid or just pretending to be. And this is where Stoicism becomes your superpower. You don't need to react. You don't need to correct. You just need to remain steady. You lead with calm. You stay rooted in truth. And you don't make someone else's chaos your compass. Now, does that mean you never call things out? If the behavior gets disrespectful, you don't explode. You don't threaten. You simply state your standard and walk. Not in anger, in clarity. Because again, her games only work if you play. If you keep chasing clarity, she won't give. If you keep trying to prove your worth to someone testing it, you end up training her to keep using confusion as control. But when you step back, when you stay composed, focused, grounded, you train her that games don't work here, that your attention has a cost, that your time is too valuable for drama. And guess what happens next? She either levels you or fades out. Either way, you win. You win your peace. You win your power. You win your self-respect. Because the only person you're competing with is the man you were yesterday. And that man, he doesn't chase. He doesn't play. He doesn't crumble under tension. He builds through it. So the next time she throws you a curveball, don't react. Observe. Pause. Let her games be in silence. If you're already living this truth, drop it in the comments. I don't play. And stay close, because what's coming next? It's the part that locks in everything we've built so far. Number 9. Let her regret echo in your absence. Here's what most guys do wrong when a woman pulls away or starts ignoring them. They rush in to fix it, to explain, to win her back, to remind her of their worth. But here's the problem with that. If she doesn't feel the loss, she won't feel the regret. That's why you don't chase, you don't argue, you disappear. And not to manipulate her, not to teach her a lesson. You disappear to protect your energy, to preserve your dignity, to give her silence instead of explanation and let her sit in the emptiness she created. That emptiness, that's where regret is born. Because when your energy is consistent, masculine, focused, and then it's gone, it echoes. She notices the stillness where there used to be warmth, the calm where there used to be attention, the space where there used to be effort, and slowly, subtly, her mind starts to wander. What happened? Why isn't he reaching out? Did I push him too far? These aren't questions you need to ask her. These are questions she starts asking herself. And the longer she sits with them, the louder the echo becomes. You see, regret doesn't come from what she had. It comes from realizing she let go of something that mattered and now it's too far gone. But here's the key. This only works if you've shown her value before you vanished. If you were needy, insecure, constantly seeking validation, your absence won't haunt her. It'll relieve her. But if you were centered, present, emotionally composed, if you made her feel seen without needing to be seen back, that absence cuts deep, because now she's realizing what she traded. She's feeling what it's like to reach for you and come up empty. And you don't have to say a word. That's the Stoic approach. No guilt tripping, no dramatic exits, just pure, unwavering distance. You let her regret build in real time. You let your silence become the consequence. It doesn't mean you're heartless. It means you're done overextending. And when she starts to feel that vacuum, when she starts to miss your presence but has no access to it, that's when everything shifts. Because now you're not chasing validation. You are the validation she's chasing. But here's the thing most men forget. This only works if you've truly detached. You can't pretend. You can't half ignore her while still stalking her social media, still wondering if she'll come back. You have to let go for real. That's where the power is. In your stillness, in your silence, in your self-control. Because absence doesn't hurt if the door is still cracked open. It only echoes when it's fully shut. And if she ever reaches back out, you don't rush in with open arms. You measure. You evaluate. You ask yourself, does this still serve me? Because by the time regret shows up, you've already evolved. You've already rebuilt. You've already recentered. You're not waiting, you're moving. And that's the kind of man she never forgets. The one who didn't beg. The one who didn't plead. The one who vanished not in bitterness, but in quiet strength. Solitaire regret échoue. Not as revenge, as revelation. You didn't leave to punish her. You left to honor yourself. And sometimes, that absence says more than any goodbye ever could. If you've ever felt this shift, comment below. She'll hear my silence. And stick with me, because what comes next? It's the final piece. And it brings everything full circle. Number 10. Become unreachable, not just unbothered. Let's make something clear. Being unbothered is only the surface. That's just the first layer. It means you're no longer reacting, no longer shaken, no longer triggered by her silence, her games, or her attempts to get under your skin. But there's a deeper level, and that's being unreachable. Unreachable doesn't mean disappearing out of spite. It means leveling up so far, so fast, and so fully that she no longer knows how to access you. Emotionally, mentally, spiritually. She can't predict you. She can't shake you. She can't throw you off course because you're not standing on the same ground anymore. You've evolved. Most men stop at unbothered. They stay silent, they don't react, they walk away, but deep down, they're still available. Still waiting, still checking her stories, still hoping. That's not strength. That's restraint. And restraint still hinges on her. But when you become unreachable, you're not doing this for her. You're doing this because you've outgrown the game. She can't guilt you. She can't tempt you. She can't play you. Because while she's still caught in power plays and attention tactics, you're building a life that doesn't orbit her validation. That's what Stoicism really teaches you. You stop needing the reaction. You stop craving the attention. You stop letting external things define your internal state. You become full on your own. And ironically, that's when your value multiplies in her eyes. Because here's the brutal truth. Women aren't haunted by the guys who text too much, call too often, or ask too many questions. They're haunted by the ones they can no longer reach. The ones who were present, real, grounded, and then elevated. Without announcement, without bitterness, without warning. And when she looks back, she doesn't just see a guy who walked away. She sees a man who walked forward, and that's the difference. You're not ignoring her to prove a point. You're focused on your goals, your discipline, your next level. You're not just busy, you're becoming better. So when she thinks of you, she doesn't picture the guy who was trying to win her over. She pictures the one who doesn't even operate in the same emotional arena anymore. You became unreachable, and that makes her question everything. Her choices, her prile, her ego. Because now, even if she wanted to reconnect, she doesn't know how. You've gone quiet not to hurt her, but to heal yourself. You've become scarce not to manipulate, but because your life is now too full for half-hearted energy, you've withdrawn it in weakness, but in wisdom. And that shift, it's permanent. You've stopped waiting. You've stopped wishing. You've stopped reacting. And in doing so, you've become the man she didn't see coming. So don't just be unbothered. That's basic. That's expected. That's temporary. Be unreachable. Let your discipline elevate you. Let your absence haunt her. Let your silence speak louder than your presence ever did. Because the man who becomes unreachable, he's not playing the game. He is the standard. And she'll remember that long after the messages stop, the emotions fade, and the roles reverse. So, if you're already walking this path, if you've felt this level of detachment drop, a comment below. I've become unreachable. And from here on out, stay focused, stay quiet, stay moving. Your next level doesn't require anyone's permission, especially hers. That's it, brother. If you've made it this far, you're not just watching, you're building something. A mindset, a standard, a new way of being. You've stopped chasing. You've stopped explaining. You've stopped giving your energy to people who don't know what to do with it. That's the Stoic path. Not cold, not bitter, just powerful in silence, clear in purpose, and grounded in truth. Now, if you felt even one part of this video hit you where it needed to, don't just leave. Subscribe right now. Lock in with us. This is where we get stronger every single day. And if you're ready to go deeper beyond these videos, beyond the surface, join the Stoic Brotherhood. Our private member community is where real men sharpen each other, where we drop exclusive videos, direct breakdowns, and daily reminders of what you're truly capable of. Links below. Tap in. And as always, thank you for being here. Stay silent, stay focused, and I'll see you tomorrow.